Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wowhead Weekly number 172. My name is Annie, or also known as Annie Fuchsia. I am a full-time streamer on Twitch and your weekly Wowhead host. And as usual, with every week, we have my lovely co-host, Perculia.
Hey everyone, I am the site director for Wowhead, and I oversee all the news and guides and features. And it's always really fun to do the show to let you guys know what we've been working on the site and highlight interesting discussion topics and guides that may be useful as you play WoW for the week. If you reminder, if you do have questions, you can send them into SAS148. And we have a giveaway prize, the Gusting Grimoire TCG Pet. And the keyword to enter in Twitch chat is spellbook. One word.
Spellbook. I think there was a slight lag spike there, but I think it's okay.
Yeah.
So yep. I think it's all right. Yeah. Spellbook is the word. Spellbook is the magic word to enter the raffle. I actually saw, one of the winners last week of the Razor Mouse was one of my followers, and he tweeted the picture, and it looked really cool. It's nice to see, like, a live, what would you call it, like live receiving of a gift. It was awesome to see. It had like a Wowhead sticker on it on top of the Razor package. It was awesome to see.
Yeah, no, it's nice to know that actual people are getting the giveaway prizes
exactly,
and they're actually using them.
Yeah. Like, it's one thing being like, hey, like, yeah, this name in the chat has won something, and it's another to, see the picture of the gift being received. It's awesome. Oh yes, and I love seeing them get it. Yeah, exactly. Sass gets it. Sass, I know that you hold loads of giveaways, like even more than I do. I can imagine that you feel that you understand how I feel. So, and there he is. Rodakirth is here. He was the winner of that giveaway.
Yay!
Yeah. Yeah, but welcome everybody to this week's show. We have a lot of new stuff to talk about, and I think for a lot of people, it'll feel like the expansion has properly started now. With the PvP being active, Mythics being active, Mythic Pluses, rather. The raiding, of course. I know a lot of people have been looking forward to the raiding. Speaking of raiding and it being the first week of all this content coming out, I wrote a tweet about it. And Perk, what do you think about the fact that the US people have 1 day of access to stuff a day before everyone else? Well, a day before EU, rather.
I think it's strange, and if we try to move more into esports, I was joking before the show, so my voice is weird.
Do you want to take a break, or are you okay?
I just feels a little weird, but I think it's weird, and it should be standardized more, like other games and esports and rankings. And when we get to the Uldir part of the show, there's some other weird things going on that I think is actually making this week weird as well, like the whole fiasco with that weapon.
Yep. I know a lot of people find it funny, like, it's fine, US is just beta testing for the EU, but like, seriously, if it's possible to do a worldwide launch of Battle for Azeroth, I think it might be a possible change in the future to just change the weekly reset to the same day as well. I think if we can do an expansion launch, probably the most popular day for people to log in at the same time, then I think resets should be fine too. And maybe it is something they're looking into. They're just unsure, and maybe it'll be something that happens later. I think as a regular player, it wouldn't matter that much, I think. I remember I never really cared. I never even knew that US has maintenance day before EU. Like, I was never that committed. I'm talking like, in my maybe first 4 years of playing WoW. And, but as a streamer especially, it really sucks. It's like, now everyone is tweeting about raiding Uldir and doing this and this content.
Yeah,
and I'm just
you guys are like 18 hours behind.
Yeah, I don't have an NA account, guys. So, I think I'm gonna farm, a few more old dungeons or something.
Right, and even with the Mythic Plus race, it doesn't totally make sense, because it's like, it's an easy Keystone week. Like, US is gonna, like, get that high Keystone, record first, because they have that head start.
Yeah, it's true. And with raiding, I know a lot of people make fun of that as well with raiding. Like, NA, they get an extra day, but they're never gonna get world first anyways. But like, it's still a thing. Like, that head start still shouldn't really be there. It
Yeah.
kind of breaks the like the real magic of the raid being new, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like, if you have a world first kill, it should be world first. It shouldn't be like, yeah, I mean, it's world first, but technically, tomorrow when EU plays, they'll probably spend less hours on it or something, like,
Right. And then people can argue like, oh, well, EU started later, but they could see what the other guilds did and adapt. And it's
yeah.
just like, no, let's just all same playing field.
Yeah, it should be the same playing field indeed. I think, yeah, I think those arguments are the really strong ones, and I don't think Blizzard is against the idea. It's probably just more of a like technical question.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, things are pretty shaky for the global launch.
hmm
So,
But that is the worst day of the whole expansion, though. So if they can somewhat make that work, except a couple servers that were, really, really knocked out. I don't know if they ever did it this time, but I know in the past when there's been crazy queues, they've often given people like a free transfer from a
I
popular
don't think they
server.
did it this time.
No, I don't think so either. But I think that's something that I think could have probably helped. Just give them a free transfer to a really dead server. And that
Yeah.
way it helps populate the dead servers and it makes it a little bit less straining on the popular server. I think that would be good. But yeah, that's what we have so far. I think overall the launch did go pretty smooth for most people though. But there were a couple servers there that were not able to even log in for like 10 hours, maybe
Right.
even more. So yeah.
But yeah, if we're talking about smooth and not smooth, there were so many bugs. I mean, they're not in the show notes, but like the hammer being the wrong item level, or people getting
Mm-hmm.
like Mythic 20 keystones, or like 385 Azurite pieces if they did a Mythic Plus in Legion, or the Season 1
Oh yeah.
PvP season disabled. There was so much weird stuff going on.
Yeah. For people who didn't know, so basically if you had done a Legion Mythic Plus in the week before this Mythic Plus section or time, you could pick up a BFA piece of gear, even though you weren't meant to. It was really
Yeah.
weird. But they reverted everything, so people
Yep.
shouldn't be stronger accidentally. Everything should be fixed.
Yeah. So in the show, we're going to go over everything new in more detail, but we do have a BFA Season 1 survival guide, and we also have a guide that breaks it down into what you should do on a daily or weekly basis if you want to be prepared for PvE content. So if you don't want to read like 10 guides, you can just go to the daily guide and be like, oh, I should make sure that I'm doing this world quest, and weekly I should do my island expeditions and clear old deer and farm these 3 things for consumables.
That's actually really
just to
useful.
streamline it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it's
Cool.
hard. It can be difficult to remember all the different things. So checking out those things to make sure that you've done all your dailies, all your weeklies, I think that's pretty useful.
Oh, well, thank you.
Well, thank you for making it possible for us to have it all in one page. But yeah, with this new week, we have our first season officially out. So as mentioned, all deer rating is out. Normal and heroic rating, so no LFR or mythic as of yet. Both normal and heroic means that you can go into groups of between 10 and 30 people. I know that some people are still a little bit unsure, like, is it 25, is it 30? No, it's 30. It's just like flex rating in
Right.
the past. The 25 comes from the old types of raids that we used to have that were 25 men, and also from, I believe some LFRs are 25. Isn't that true?
No, LFR can be flex. Mythic is
Oh,
20.
LFR is also flex? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, Mythic is 20 indeed. So both Mythic and LFR Wing 1 will be available next week with the next reset.
Yep. And just for the item levels, normal is 355 and heroic is 370.
Mm-hmm.
And then mythic will be 385.
Mm-hmm.
And this can all Titan Forge up to 400.
Does that mean you can get 400 from a normal one?
Yes.
Crazy.
But Azurite cannot Titan Forge.
Mm-hmm. And
so Azurite will be, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead.
Oh, I'm just saying that, Azurite's very limited. So like the Azurite from the normal
Mm-hmm.
raid is 355.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's so important with the daily and weekly checklist to make sure you're hitting up the sources that can grant the highest possible item level Azurite. So like we'll get to it in a few, but like you should do a Mythic 10 Keystone, because that can give you the highest item level of Azurite as an RNG chance from the weekly cache. Or you should, you know, do your conquest for rewards and try to get a high rating, so then your Azurite reward is better.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not going to get like eye level 400 Titan Forge Azurite. You have to
No.
make sure you're doing the hardest possible content to get the best possible Azurite.
Mm-hmm. I like that. It gives a bit of incentive to actually do harder content rather than to just wait and be lucky. And
Yeah.
also, I think the main thought behind that was actually because you shouldn't have to worry about, like, oh, this one has an extra socket. Is the socket more worth it than
Right,
these
right.
traits and,
Hmm.
all that stuff. So, to keep it kind of simple, because it is already complicated with the different traits, they decided to make them like standard item levels, no Titan forging or war forging, to keep it a little bit easier and streamlined, I guess. Together with this new content, we also have world bosses, and we have one world boss available at one time. If I, that's correct, right? I don't want to say
Yep.
the wrong things. We have
Well,
one,
yeah,
yeah,
Warfronts complicated, but yeah, one Kulturas or Xandar world bosses up at the same time.
yeah. I think that's what was making me a bit unsure because the other one is not a world boss.
Right.
It's a boss in Arathi Highlands, and that one also gives you lesser gear, right?
Oh no, it's better gear actually. I leveled 370.
Wait, oh, the world boss in Coltira's is the one that's 355.
Yep.
Gotcha. All right.
Hmm.
I always mix those up. Sorry.
Yeah.
Got it now. So there's one world boss in Coltira's slash Zandalar, and this one drops 355 item level gear. And there is a different world boss which is available on the Warfront in Arathi Highlands, which will drop 370 item level gear. Now
Yep.
we got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be so confusing when there's so many different things. With the Warfronts, there's also a lot of new rares that have been introduced, and all these rares are all in the zone of Rathi Highlands, and they can all drop different special items, for example, pets and toys, and also mounts.
Yeah.
And these mounts are really rare because I believe that they are a 1 out of 100 drop rate, which means you have probably one attempt, what is it, per week? Or how often do Warfronts actually switch?
We don't know. It's sort of a big question mark because they weren't really tested on the beta. Like we
Yeah,
didn't even know they were
we weren't even
launching today,
sure.
really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say we weren't even sure that they were launching now, but they did, since
Yeah.
there was no real announcement for them. But the idea is that whenever there is a switch of who owns the Warfront, you can farm the rares again. And if a mount is a 1% drop rate, that means that it's gonna probably take you some time to get it, unless you're very very lucky. So if you're interested in any of those rare drops, you should probably start farming them already. Battle pets are tradable if you learn the pet and then cage them. I believe all the pets
Yeah.
are, and the toys are not tradable, and I would assume the mounts are not either. Also, all of these rares drop 340 item level gear, which is
Hmm.
equivalent to a Mythic Zero. So it's pretty useful for some quick gearing up as well, just to get, just to go one round around them and kill all of them. You might even be lucky and they might Titan Forge. And this gear is not tradable either.
Yeah. So just to touch on some more Uldir concerns. First thing specific to it, since we're talking about gear, um, there are bonus rolls that work in Uldir, the world bosses and Mythic Plus bosses. Mythic Plus is new in BFA, but the downside is that you can only get 2 per week, not 3,
Mm-hmm.
and you can only stockpile 5 seals down from 6.
Yeah.
So, make those rolls count.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
If you have
Another
ult,
issue with all this is that. Go ahead.
okay, just a quick. If you have ult at 120, even if you're not playing them, you should pick up the seals.
Mhm.
But yeah, go on. Sorry.
Yeah. Another thing is that while there's all this gear available, there aren't very many weapon drops in BFA, and people have had to think about weapon drops, suddenly for the first time after Legion when they never had to. And there was sort of a fiasco yesterday where there are only two two-handed strength weapons in Uldir, and a lot of players looted this weapon, Core Hammer of the Guardian, and they're like, "Oh, cool! It's a nice strength weapon." And Blizzard had decided that the Hammer of the Guardian was meant to be cosmetic, and it should have 0 stats and have like no item level. And if you got the corrupted version, that was meant to be the actual raid weapon. So a lot of people yesterday suddenly found that their weapons were suddenly garbage without notice, and that's just like a ripple effect where it's like, oh, I thought I had an upgrade. That's why I didn't, roll or trade for weapons from later bosses, or I deleted my old weapon that was worse, or I decided not to farm this Mythic Plus because I thought I already had this weapon. So a lot of people are up in arms that this wasn't communicated clearly, and it's also like, how come one variant is cosmetic but the other 4 colors are fine?
Mm-hmm. I actually have a picture of it too, to show you guys.
It's super confusing. But that's sort of been one of the downsides in spite of all this new loot. It's that weapons don't have flexible stats like armor, where it's like, oh, it's agi or strength or int. Weapons are very much like, this is a strength, sword. Mm-hmm. This is an int sword. So strength users are, now really locked into 2 epic weapons from the raid.
Looking at the transmogs, though, I do think it looks pretty unique. Well, not unique, wrong word, but it does look a bit different from the rest of them. It stands out.
Oh, yeah. Like, if you've done the Horde storyline, you meet Talek previously, and you understand more of Talek's backstory, and, Talek is a boss, and now he's corrupted, but, there is a purified form of Talek where it's, like, gold and gleaming and not evil looking, and that's the cosmetic version. So
I see a couple people saying it looks worse or it looks worse or looks bad. I think it looks better because it's golden, and then it has a nice contrast with the red, because the other golden one is the one from normal mode. And when I say golden, I mean like the rim of it. It's not like what is this,
it's
sort
more
of
like
metal color?
Yeah.
It looks more polished. The only thing that it's missing is like a better glow, I guess. It could have had a better glow, but other than that, I think it does look better.
Yeah, so there's some controversy over that, and then there's also just a general, I guess, confusion that, Uldir doesn't have tier sets for every class and all this gorgeous armor, and I don't like how the new armor looks, and we have fewer sets, and they look not as exciting as, tier 21, which, is also kind of a valid concern, because Blizzard was saying that because they'd have fewer sets, they could really knock them out of the park for each type of zone. And I think people expected something a bit more over the top if you're talking about like Old Gods Titan facility in a Blood Troll zone, and we get kind of like metallic sets.
They don't stand out very much.
No, they don't really. No. It's like, Old Gods feasting on blood, and like Zool and corruption and Zandalar. It's like, I'm not really sensing that vibe from the sets, so.
Hopefully it'll be different with the future raid sets instead.
Yeah, I'd love to see the Ashara set. I hope that one is, cool at least, or does justice to the story. But yeah, one more final comment on the Uldir stuff. If you do want to know how to defeat any of these bosses, we've teamed up with Fat Boss TV. Originally, they were doing video guides, and they still are. But starting in Legion, they are also doing written guides on Wowhead. So, detailed strategy guides saying what each role should do, and quick tips, and then the full strategy if you are a raid leader and want to know more. And they have diagrams and GIFs of confusing abilities, and then that ties in with their updated videos. So definitely check those out if you are raiding Uldir. Also related to the raid race, we just had an announcement right before the show that Method has announced they are live streaming the Mythic Uldir. So the secret, that's a really big deal, because whenever Mythic occurs, everyone goes dark.
Yep.
No one shares strats. Um, Everyone just, tries to do the race. Streamers that are always online just vanish. And the secrecy is now at an end.
I think that's a
Method is
huge
streaming on
deal.
Twitch.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
that's
it's really cool. They
crazy.
have so many sponsors on board because, previously it's like, oh, the world first race isn't really esports, or Blizzard is having a tournament for like MDI but not raids. So I think it's really cool that Method has set this up and can maybe pave the way for more companies to be interested and take the world first race seriously, and that it's worth investing in. They're
Exactly.
working with Discord to have like lots of channels and interactive updates. What I think is really cool is that they're going to Red Bull's studio in London, and they're having a special event where there's going to be commentary and casting on the event going on, and the main raiders will be streaming there as well. So I think that that's really cool how they're having a live event with Red Bull.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that is really cool. And like you said, this might also open more possibilities for other guilds because one of the main
yeah.
reasons why it's hard for any guild to be doing progression, why we don't see a lot in the US, for example, as well. Like, apart from Method, there's not that many guilds that can actually take it seriously and do a properly be having a chance for the world first race because it
Mhm.
takes so many hours. People can't,
Yeah.
people have to work, people have, they have to pay their bills. And with this being done, if it ends up being very popular and more companies start realizing this, maybe more guilds can actually be sponsored in a similar way to pay all the players so that they can actually take the time off work and still be able to pay the bills. I think that would help a lot because I know that a lot of old raiders just quit because they simply couldn't do it. It's like 1 to 2 weeks of complete radio silence, not any
Right.
work at all. And
And
even
then
before that, you have to do so
exactly.
much like practicing and playing on the beta and not just like reading a quick guide on like Google somewhere. Like you have to actually play it. So people just don't have the time to because if they would spend all that time, they would lose their job pretty much.
Yeah, and I think that's also why, EU partially was pulling ahead of US. Like US has it's stricter with things like vacation
Oh
days
yeah.
or lack of benefits or, healthcare. There's a lot of factors that I think just lifestyle wise or how things are set up that can make things a bit more flexible in EU. But that said, I mean, the rating scene and the race, as people get older and have jobs, it has become smaller in the past few years. So I'm
Mhm.
really excited. I hope this can revitalize it. I
Mhm.
also we announced at I think last week that Wowhead is also sponsoring Method, so we're really excited to be part of this project. And we're going to be featuring some of their streams on Wowhead's front page, and we'll be doing different Q&As with them. And all the Method streamers will be using the Wowhead Twitch extension, which lets you see what's the talent and gear that they've recently have been using. So if you want to know like what are they using on Mythic Cahoon, you can go to their streams and the Wowhead extension will show you what they are using. So we're really excited to be part of that, and we're also powering the Allcraft Q&A, which takes place after Wowhead Weekly, immediately after.
Mhm.
And Sko and Roger will be on to talk about their decision. So if you have any questions, do send them along. There's a Wowhead tweet specifically asking for questions, and we're just really happy to be supporting so many interesting, innovative ventures in
Mhm.
WoW.
It's awesome seeing World of Warcraft be so alive right now in so many ways.
Yeah, like I think with they released stats on Twitch, and WoW moved up I think 5 spots in popularity to like number
Mm.
4 in August, so that's really cool.
Mhm. That is really cool indeed.
But yeah, I can't wait for these numbers, and I'm sure when we have a raid with actual that's really prominent in the existing lore, like fighting a Shara or a boss that people have actually heard of before, not like a Hoon,
Yeah,
that the
Gahoon.
numbers will be even
Yeah.
bigger. Um,
People
because
still ask like, what the hell is this? Like, what is
you're like
Gahoon?
Uldir, don't you mean like Ulduar? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be
So
awesome
I'm
to
really
see more
excited
prominent
to see this
figures.
grow.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Moving on, we can talk a little bit more, dive into the topic of Mythic Plus. So there are a few changes done in Mythic Plus compared to how they were done in Legion. And one of the first things that you may have realized already, well, maybe not. One of the first things you may have realized. Oh yeah,
one important thing. So
Yeah.
apparently, we were just talking about this hammer. My face is wet because I'm pulling up the page. Blizzard just said that this was a bug, but our initial response to discovering the issue had unfair consequences for players who had innocently earned and equipped what appeared to be a great weapon. We're going to revert the chains and proceed with a new fix that only lowers the item level of new drops. Once this fix is live, anyone who had earned the weapon before the hotfix should find that it has been restored to its original glory. So, yeah.
Does that mean it's equal to its regular version in terms of like strength and everything?
Yeah. So, you probably will get a better weapon from like heroic, but
Yeah. That's cool.
It's good. Yeah. So, we're just complaining about it. Yay, Blizzard listened. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good to hear. So if you got the weapon before the hotfix, then you're good. Should be able to use it again. That's good to know.
But yeah, back to Mythic Plus. There are some changes from Legion to BFA.
And first change we wanted to mention here was that you cannot change gear mid Mythic Plus. I think in Legion you could already not change talents if you're already inside. I think if you wanted to change talents, you had to go out. Am I right?
Yeah. Wait a minute. Yeah.
I think so.
Well, yeah. I think you had to pick the. I think you couldn't change the talents, but yeah, you could swap your gear like 24/7.
Exactly. Yeah. And now you can't change. So a lot of people were concerned.
Yeah, you couldn't change talents because else people would be like specking between healer and DPS every boss.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But gear is the new thing, and a lot of people are concerned about this because sometimes there'd be like a really hard-hitting boss or something where people needed to be a bit more defensive, or tanks in particular needed to be very defensive, and then for the rest of the dungeon there may not be anything which is hard-hitting, and then the tank wants to be a bit more offensive, so he could switch between those in gear and trinkets. Now you cannot change it anymore. People were a little bit concerned about that, having to sort of gear according to the hardest part of the dungeon, rather than like a gear set which is, pretty good throughout the whole dungeon. But I don't think those extremes should, I don't know. I haven't really played tank, but maybe those extremes haven't shown themselves too much as of yet, at least. I don't think people actually have a lot of gear sets to walk around with. So maybe we'll see more of this once people actually start having gear and pushing a bit higher Mythic Pluses. Then we'll see how people feel about that.
Yeah, it's also the season's very new, so I know a lot of high-end people thought it was, fun to plan out the perfect sets of gear to, fully optimize and, push those really high-end keystones. And the season's so new, so, people right now are just learning the fights. Blizzard's rationale for this was that they thought that if there's a raid encounter, you can't swap your gear or talents during the raid fight, and the Mythic Plus should be seen as like one complete encounter, like a difficult Mythic raid boss. So we'll see how that turns out. Too early to say.
Honestly, I think it's a good
hot
thing.
Topic.
Especially for MDIs and similar, I think it's great to have a sort of more, I don't know if I should call it educated, but a more well thought out gear set that you use for the rest of the dungeon. I think that makes it better for people.
Being strategic in a different way. So
and having it more streamlined as well. So it's not like the players play completely differently between each pack and each boss. I don't know. I think just having that sort of streamlining is good.
It could also reduce the interest in needing the perfect Titan Forge thing of everything. Like, on boss 2, I need to get this level 400 trinket, and then for boss 3. Plus, it was already a lot of swapping with legendaries, and now we have Azurite pieces, and you don't want people having dozens of Azurite
people might be like,
of
I need this trinket for this dungeon and this trinket for this dungeon, so that could still happen. But yeah, I think the more streamlining the better, but not too much streamlining to make it completely can't personalize it, customize it at all. But I think this is a good thing. for MDI is like longevity. I can't speak.
Yeah.
For the long
Another
run, I think
change.
it's a good thing.
Yeah, another change, like we mentioned before, was you can now bonus roll Mythic Plus dungeons. That gives you an additional chance to get a random reward from the specific dungeon and keystone level you just completed. Remember though, Azurite armor does not drop you can't farm Azurite armor from the Mythic Plus dungeon, but if you're interested in weapons or trinkets, other important slots, you can try to get the higher item level version from the Mythic Plus dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
Another
interesting one was the weekly chest, which can apparently contain up to 3 items.
RNG.
I heard it's a guaranteed 2 though if you do a +10. Is that true?
I have not heard that, and I don't think anyone has. I'm not sure if that's true, because I know a lot of people have run stuff. It would be interesting if that was true, but the only guarantee I know is that the end of chest reward is the weekly reward from a Mythic 10 is at least 380, and the Azurite is 385. But
wow.
I think all the controversy is that you don't know how many you're getting, and you can't control that. So, if someone does a Mythic 10 and gets 3, eye level 385 pieces, that is better, obviously, than someone that also does a Mythic 10 and gets 1 380 piece.
Yeah.
So that's a little not so fun.
More RNG.
Yeah, I know when people be like, oh, like the Uldir race is affected because this guild got all 3 procs and we got all 1 procs.
Yeah.
There are also many changes to how the affixes work. Some of them are kind of technical, but the most important one is that Tyrannical and Fortified are now level 2 down from 10. And there's a new seasonal one called Infested, which is present on all 10 keystones. And it's themed after Uldir because it spawns a symbiote of Gahoon. And we've written a guide specifically to various strategies to handle Infested. Like I said, this will always appear on top of the rotating 3 other ones, so it will complicate things in interesting ways.
Mm-hmm. And with mentioning specifically that this is connected to Uldir, that also means once there's a new raid tier, there's probably going to be a new affix as well.
Exactly.
And I think that's pretty cool. I really like that. It gives a bit of flavor to Mythic Plus and makes it be slightly different between the different tiers too. So it's not exactly the same thing every time. Yeah.
You always have to relearn it every season, and I think is
so. There's something new to look forward to every season, not just new timers, but I think that's awesome. Especially if there's no dungeon, no new dungeon introduced or anything like that, then at least you have a new affix.
Yeah, and a special note for this week in particular is for the end of dungeon reward, because of how things work with Mythic not open yet, the end of dungeon loot does not keep scaling up after Mythic 5. So you should do one keystone level 10 to ensure you have the best possible loot from your weekly chest, but if you want to just farm loot, you should just speed run keystones at the level 5 level. You're not going to get better end of dungeon rewards if you do like a 6 or 7. It just everything above a 5 is just eye level 355 for this 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
So don't kill yourself trying to do Mythic 10 on every run. Take it a little easy.
Yeah, just do a Mythic 10 once to make sure that you get that good loot when the chests are introduced. And if you're farming gear, then just spam Mythic +5. You'll get the highest gear possible.
Yeah. We've also done a bunch of guides to help you prepare for Mythic Plus, with even more on the way. With utility being such a big role in BFA, we've written a guide just on all the different types of class utility everyone has. So if you're planning your party or you are thinking about what alt you should bring for something, you can check that guide out. We also have a guide for all the dungeon dispels and purges. So if you're one of those classes that has an ability, you can learn what is important, and we've marked them by low, medium, and high priority. So if you see a gigantic list of things you can dispel, which is the most important one to dispel. We also have a guide to what infested is and a few strats on how to handle it. And JB from Method is back with his weekly Q&As on Mythic Plus. He does them every Tuesday. He gets questions from Wowhead in his stream. And this week he is covering what dungeons are the most challenging and easiest with this combo, as well as what classes seem the strongest in the early Mythic Plus meta. So if you have questions for him, definitely tweet him or add them to the post or ask on his stream, and he'll get to them next week. He is a really, high-end progressed streamer who does Mythic Plus, but he answers questions at all, skill and experience levels with Mythic Plus. He is not just going to give advice for, Mythic 20 interested players. He's answering questions like, if I don't have good gear drops, like, should I be discouraged? Or like, what do I do on my, first thing? So like
questions
it's
for
not
all
just,
levels,
it's not just
all
elite.
experiences.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this next topic was kind of a surprise. Warfronts just like appeared
out of nowhere. It's like,
yeah,
we said last week, like, is Warfronts going to be here? Not sure, actually. They haven't said a word about it. But it was just, surprise opened.
Yeah, so what you can actually do with Warfronts right now, we still don't know all the details, but when they opened this week, the Alliance had access to Arathi Highlands, which means that they could kill a special world boss for eye level 370 loot, and the boss had a lot of Azurite pieces, and the boss can also drop a special toy, while Horde were working on the contribution phase to actually get into the Warfront, and by contribution phase, they can do a special one-time turn-in of a bunch of profession materials to get artifact power as well as honor-bound reputation, which is great for, unlocking the Magheart orcs. At some point in the future, when the bar hits 100%, we can then, Horde can actually do the Warfront, and then if you do the weekly win the Warfront quest, you get an eye level 370 piece of gear. So I guess that's fair because the faction that has the world boss can get the 370 gear, and then the faction that does the Warfront can get the 370 gear, so it's not like side's at the disadvantage.
Yeah, I was thinking about that at first, like, like Horde players who are raiding, they might want to know what they're going to get as the 370 piece if they're going to be raiding, to make the decision if they need this 370 piece or if they should trade it to somebody. But so Horde do also get a 370 piece of gear, so it's pretty fair in that sense.
And all of this Arathi Highlands gear is like the Gladiator gear in appearance, but a different tint. And I believe the 370 versions are recolors of the Elite Gladiator tint. So if you aren't into PvP, but you like how something looks, do your PvE Warfront stuff. And you can get some really cool looking gear. We also just wanted to highlight, as we mentioned at the start of the show, there are many like toys and mounts and pets from Arathi Highlands, including some really cool stuff like Horde has a horse Mustang that they can get, and I think both factions can get Raptors. So if you want the appearance of a faction mount, but you play the opposite faction, Arathi Highlands is for you. But yeah, we don't really know how long the Warfronts last, or how long it takes for the bar to hit 100. There's still lots of unknowns, but we think it will change every week maybe, and we're also now tracking the contribution quest on Wowhead's front page, so if you want to buy things like a shopping list in advance, you can, and as a note, they're different for NA and EU, so if you see NA up, don't buy the materials if you're EU, because they're probably different. But yeah, all of that is tracked on Wowhead's front page, and we hope to add faction control and contribution progress pretty soon, but we just couldn't set it up in advance with how untested and buggy Warfronts were. Like, we had data, but it didn't make any sense. So
yeah,
soon.
And speaking of world bosses, we go into the real world bosses. It actually feels kind of sad that these real world bosses give so low item level compared to Warfronts. I don't know if it's just me.
That's why I was speculating that they wouldn't be available at the same time. I was like, why would you want to do the world boss Warfront boss is up.
Yeah. Like I've never felt like, oh, this world boss gives less gear anyways. Like, should I even bother? No, yeah, it feels a little bit disappointing. I think this one should have been 370 as well. But anyways, so the world boss I'm talking about now is the one that spawns on Kultiris/Zandalar. And it's the one right now is called Warbringer Yenaz and spawns in Stormsong Valley, and it drops item level 355 gear.
Yeah, and every one of these world bosses, I believe, has two Azerite items, and then either some sort of trinket or interesting accessory. I do know that some of these trinkets are ranking pretty highly for DPS, like the trinket from the Hailstone Construct, the Drust Ruined Icicle is good for a lot of specs. It's one of
Oh
our
yeah.
most visited trinket pages.
Mm-hmm.
So if they Titan Forge, these could be good. But yeah, it is kind of strange that if you have the Warfront world boss up, why would you want to do this?
Yeah.
So, and just remember, you can use bonus rolls on these world bosses, and because they can spawn in enemy territory, you may not want to have war mode on if you're waiting for the boss and it's not your home continent.
Yeah. I went there in war mode, and it was I met a raid of at least 30 hordes, and my raid
Oh
was like maybe
no!
10 people. But it was okay because as soon as they killed the boss, they actually left. But I know that some people actually got stuck because I tried to increase my raid after that, realizing there's so many horde.
Yeah.
Some people actually found it really difficult to get to the boss itself. So yeah, do remember your war mode. And also another thing is remember your war mode when you join groups as well. Like
Oh,
when
yeah.
I made groups like for some of these world bosses, sometimes like half the group wasn't even in the same war mode. So I started adding it in my group description. But yeah, do keep that in mind.
Yeah. So this thing isn't exactly new content, but it enhances the existing content really well, and it's that the Darkmoon Faire is back in town as of the filming of the show a few more days.
Mm-hmm.
And it has an experience and reputation buff, which is if you have experience, if you're leveling your main still, this will help. If you are leveling a allied race for the heritage armor, it also helps. And reputation wise, this is great if you still need 7th Legion or Honor Bound rep for Dark Iron or Mag'har Orcs, or if you are working on, Azerothian Diplomat for your flying,
Mm-hmm.
if you need Legion reps for your Paragon mounts, or if you are working towards 100 Exalted reputations and just need a push in general.
Mm-hmm. The reputation buff is given to you when you ride on the carousel, and there's also an option of getting those top hats that you can actually carry yourself and
Yep.
pop wherever you are. I usually like to use them because sometimes you could be in the middle of questing realizing, oh no, my buff just ran out, then you can quickly
Right.
just
Or
use
if
that.
you die, if you
Or
die,
if you
like
die. Oh, that's another
yeah.
thing. You may want to switch off war mode when you do this because you don't want to risk dying in a PvP battle and then need to go back to get your buff again. So I usually play with war mode because I think war mode is a lot more fun. But if you have a Dark Moon buff that you're trying to, be efficient with, then it's not so good.
Yeah. I'll also say that it's also the Darkmoon Faire is good for collection achievements. We talked about this last month, but with the release of 8.0, there are new collection achievements for mounts, toys, and battle pets.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't really much incentive to collect more than the base amounts in Legion, but now with higher totals for rewards, you may suddenly be looking for extra sources of these things. So
Mm-hmm.
there are like 17 other toys from the Darkmoon Faire.
Is it 17? Oh, wow.
I know it's up to 18 with the popcorn
Oh,
toy that was
wow.
just
Okay.
added.
Mm-hmm.
There are 4 mounts and 19 battle pets, and you want these
19.
because there are things for 350 and 400 mounts,
Mm-hmm.
400 toys, and 800 and 1,000 battle pets. So
I
Darkmoon
actually
Faire is
just
really
got
good
my
for all that stuff.
1,000 one. I just got
Oh,
my, I think
congrats!
it was yesterday or something. I got 1,000 unique pets. That was,
Nice.
yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, I love it when they increase these numbers because, like you said, it gives more incentive to actually be collecting those, as many as possible. So that's awesome. I didn't realize
Yeah.
Darkmoon Faire has so many of them, though. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So get
Uh,
collecting.
on a sadder note with the Darkmoon Faire, with the Profession Squish rework, um, it kind of broke how the Profession skill ups work from the quests. And people back in Legion and past expansions would use those Darkmoon Faire skill ups to help with leveling up in tough level bands. So, if you needed 5 more points and you could craft a bunch of expensive stuff or do the fair, you might want to wait and do the fair.
Mm-hmm.
But because of how things broke, the profession quest only gives skill ups in the classic basic range. So you can't get any help, working on your Kul, Tiras, or Zandalar profession ranges.
Yeah,
And
that's
Blizzard
actually
has,
quite a shame. Have they confirmed that this is the way it's supposed to be?
yeah, they said with profession changes in patch 8.0, Darkmoon Faire profession quests will only increase the base level of a profession up to a skill of 300. While this is an intended
Okay.
change, we are looking to improve this experience in a future patch. So it sounds
Okay.
like this broke by accident and
Yeah, we haven't
we
fixed it
aren't
yet,
happy.
but give us some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that means they will fix it. They just don't want it to be a problem at the moment. So they want people to just accept how it is now, and then they will probably look into fixing it in the future.
Yeah. So for the final part of the show, we just wanted to highlight some site updates going on because obviously with so many things going on in game, Wowhead has also have needed to do a bunch of updates. The first thing I wanted to talk about was the addition of blood mallet charts. If you're into class discords or simming or theory crafting, you were probably aware of blood mallet, how these were very nice dynamic charts that updated after every hotfix and showed you what trinkets and Azurite were good at different item levels, and it was all really nice and easy to understand. In
Mm-hmm.
Battle for Azeroth, he has added the ability for basically any site to embed his charts and data on their site. So we have synced up with him and the Wowhead writers to add these to all of our gear and Azurite pages if the SimC results, the default SimC results line up with what the guide writers are doing. So we have things like single target charts for trinkets, or how things are varied in AoE, and how different Azurite rings stack up against each other. And like it just says, really dynamic. Like you mouse over the bar, and it's like, well, it's ranked 800 at 340, but 1000 if you have the 355 version.
Mm-hmm.
And you can even mouse over the names, and it takes you to the Wowhead pages. And the best part is that whenever there's a hotfix, the charts just update, so the Wowhead writers don't have to spend forever like
Yeah,
resimming things and then taking pictures of all the new sims. Like it just magically updates into their charts. So
that's really
you
good.
know
It's nice of
yeah,
him to share like that.
yeah, and he keeps adding improvements based on what the writers are asking for.
Mm-hmm.
We're working closely with him. I'm not sure if someone can drop the Patreon link into chat. Obviously he does all this for free, but it's a really cool service, and we think he deserves more support. So definitely check out
Mm-hmm.
his Patreon if you want to, thank him for all this hard work. Like I know
Mm-hmm.
lots of people, not just on Wowhead, but like lots of Discords, lots of places in general use his work, and there are server costs. There's a lot of time that goes into this, and we think it's awesome, and
Yeah.
show your support.
Yeah, I think that the fact that it is free in the first place shows how there's passion and interest. So that's why he does it. So it's always nice seeing that kind of work, and if people are able to share, or I mean support, then that's just great. Yeah, thank you, Katsuki.
Awesome. We also wanted to highlight various class guide updates around the time of, Uldir opening. We have 3 different pages, and we have more to come. The first is that with the opening of Uldir, we thought it would be good to go over what are mistakes that people keep doing and are confused about in Discord, in the first few weeks of launch. So we want to go over what are these mistakes and how can you identify and get better at them. And we also include things like, log analysis, and this is how you read logs to see maybe what your weaknesses are, or, here's a common complaint that, maybe this ability isn't intuitive, but you should use it differently. So we have launched pages for that for every single spec, and we also have guides to Warcraft logs and WoW Analyzer. And then we have a page for Mythic Plus advice and tips for all specs. This is not if you are like wanting to win at the meta, but this is, hey, like I need to do my Mythic 10 Keystone for the week. Like, what's a good build for my
Mm-hmm.
class? What's the utility I have? Is there any Azerite that's good for Mythic Plus? Is there anything that is a really bad, combination that I should know about? Is there one dungeon that has like 5 pieces for my spec? Like, what's the best dungeon to farm in Mythic Plus? So we have, 36 pages for that as well. And then the final page, which is also being updated, is that we have raid advice pages that go into the strengths and weaknesses of your spec in Uldir. And we'll be adding strategies, as the hot fixes and boss tweaks and nerfs continue to make sure they're up to date. And we, in the meantime, our talent calculator is pulling in Warcraft logs data, so you can see what the top 100 parses are using on Heroic and soon Mythic, and that includes talents, trinkets, and Azerite. So those provide some, general gearing advice in the meantime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think all of those pages are really useful. I think people can start off with probably looking at your own class and then advancing into Mythic Plus and then advancing into raiding. I think that's what I would recommend people to do.
Yeah, and if you aren't doing any of the following and you're just like, where's the easy, like basic page, like I'm a fresh 120, go to the simple guide page in class menus and now it'll just be like the TLDR, like basic talents for fresh 120. So, we know a lot of people on the site want really detailed stuff, especially after we did those really detailed Mage Tower guides. But then we also know that, if you're an alt and you're rolling like a new Mag'har Orc, maybe you don't need all these charts at first and you just want, like keep it simple. So we're trying to appeal to everyone.
I'm linking here the first page, which is the how to improve pages. That's the update, which is on top of the class guide, so you can find the class guides there. And then also the Mythic Plus advice pages right there. I don't have the link to raid advice. Is that something that's coming soon, or is it already there?
We don't have it yet because we wanted to announce a few more things with it first, and we didn't want to, with like everything changing, we don't want to say like, oh, this is what you should do, and then Blizzard hotfixes it 5 minutes later, and then people think we gave them wrong advice, and then
yeah. Especially because things are changing so much right now.
Yeah. So, but they're there. They're in the navigation menu. They're on the little bar at the top, so you can find them. We just wanted to promote them more when things were more stabilized, so people wouldn't read it. Then a day later, they're like, "Why is this outdated?" So. Yeah, I think that's about it. We'll also have PvP guides to be announced. I know we have more than 20 specs updated that are, viable in the meta. But the PvP season is new as well, and of course some things have changed. So we're
I'm excited for the new PvP stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing, none of the notes that I should mention is Blizzard has been clarifying how conquest points work and rewards. So now we know all the values for the different transmog appearances, when you get the cloak, when you get the tabard, when you get the mount, what's the item level, like if you're a gladiator, what's the reward in your weekly chest versus if you're like a duelist. So we know that not everyone is into PvP, but there is, if you fill up your conquest bar, you get a eye level 345 weapon, and with all the tension surrounding the that weapon that went away, weapons are in demand, so you may want to, if you have bad luck on weapons, you may want to fill that conquest bar and get that 345 weapon regardless of your skill level in PvP.
And there was a thing with PvP actually. I have an old vicious saddle because I already got all the mounts. I can't do anything with that, right?
You can turn that in for the
only
new
the
vicious
old ones.
saddle.
Can you?
Right. I think, well, the vendors are still up.
Because I didn't see the new mounts there.
Oh, huh. Well, maybe those are coming in the next season. I'll have to check again.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm very curious because I have one extra saddle and I can't spend on anything, and I haven't seen the new ones in the vendors yet. And I heard from some people that they're gonna be automatically given to you if you complete the percentage for the honor, or for the PvP per season, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
also heard, as Zeberfoot just mentioned in the chat, I've also heard that you may need 1400 rating in PvP as well to get mounts. I'm not sure. 1400 is not very high, but it would be a change because in the past you never needed a rating. So, yeah, I guess we'll see. It'll be interesting to find out exactly how that works.
Yep. We have a few questions. And let's see. Um, let's see.
Oh, I just saw Zeberfoot. Thanks for the breakdown, you two. First time tuning in, and I'll definitely be back next week. Very welcome too.
Yeah. Actually, we just had the same question asked like 3 different times. Basically,
Popular question. Yeah.
People are asking how often we can farm rares for items in Warfronts. Is it daily or weekly? I'm not exactly sure. I know it was so buggy during the beta, we didn't know. I'm pulling up the guide right now to see if that information is...
What people seem to say is that it's per control. So whenever it switches from alliance to horde control, you can go and farm them. When it changes back to alliance, you can go farm it again. So it's not really daily or weekly. It's just it depends when the control switch happened.
Okay, yeah, we should. I'm seeing that in the Wowhead guide comments. We should definitely add to it.
Okay. Yeah. Can you still get the water strider? Yes, you can, and you definitely should. Like running around in Zuldazar or Zandalar is quite annoying in certain zones, especially if you don't have a water strider. So I would recommend that.
Yeah. Yep.
Any other questions?
Yeah. No, that was basically it.
All right. Well, today's show is going to be a little bit shorter than others. Apart from these news, there's not too many flashy stuff to show you guys.
Yeah.
I forgot to show you guys this. I had a quick picture of all the world bosses. I thought it was pretty cute. Took a screenshot from Wowhead. There you go. You see Warbringer Yenaz. That's the one that's up right now, and the others are the other world bosses that are not up yet. And I think I had another one as well. Yeah. Small pictures of all the bosses in Uldir. There.
Awesome. Nice.
Also taken from Wowhead. I thought they were pretty cute.
Yeah.
How they were laid out like that. How do you get the mount? I assume you're talking about the Water Strider. You should probably check them out. Maybe there's a Wowhead guide for them. There are two Water Striders.
Ones.
Yeah.
And one is from the garrison, so you have to form up like 100 coins for Nat Pagel and unlock the fishing shack. Or you can do things for Angler's reputation in Mist of Pandaria.
Yeah. So if you already have a fishing shack level 3, then you may want to do that. If you don't already have that, maybe you just want to go and farm the Angler's reputation.
Yeah. Also keep in mind there are class abilities that can help, like Shaman have water walking. There are some underwater mounts as well, like there's that, Stingray, I think, from fishing. So those don't go above the water, but if you are, I don't know, in the sea for some reason, that can help with your speed.
Oh, someone just mentioned this as well. During time walking, you can buy the reputation for Angler's rep.
Yeah, that's a good point. So that can speed it up as well. And with the Darkmoon Faire, with any of these reps, you can get the reputation boost.
Yeah, the 10% reputation bonus from Darkmoon Faire is also a very good point. And another thing is, if you happen to be into fishing and you have the fishing artifact, you can, and if you leveled it up, you can have water walking with that too. Although I don't think it works when you actually mount it up. I think it's only if you're running around. So
right.
Yeah, maybe it's not that useful. But it does increase your swimming speed a lot, whether mounted or just swimming. So it's still pretty useful. I actually tend to do that when I'm swimming. I switch out between my weapon and my fishing artifact.
Yeah. I think that's about it.
Do we have a winner for the giveaway? Yeah, I was just wondering the same thing. I don't think so. I don't see it, so maybe not yet.
Yeah, I don't see it on SAS yet. Do you want to maybe highlight some of the discounts as we are, like the Wowhead shop or the Blizzard stuff as we are waiting for SAS to pick a winner?
Let's take a look at what I have. I can show off the different things that we have in the Wowhead store in general.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We can also. I can pull it up quickly. I don't know if you just want to pull this up, but if you want to pull it up on the screen, that's some new stuff we have that's like brand new. We have pins and plushies.
Oh, all right. Let me show this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we haven't shown this before, so let me show this. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. Make this a little bit bigger. Okay, I know you guys can't see anything yet. Just give me a moment. Did we pick a winner yet?
I haven't. I'm messaging Sass. I haven't heard anything.
Okay, no worries. Here we go. Yeah, okay, now I can show it. There we go. These are the pins we're talking about. So these pins are newly added to the Wowhead shop, and actually it's not just pins, this is a plushie.
Yeah, you got a little plushie.
Oh.
Sass, kudos to Sass for that. He like really pushed to get that plushie made. Like countless revisions to make sure that everything looked just perfect, like the little metal bumps.
I love it. It looks really good. Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah.
It looks really well done. And I love the bottom part where it's like it's a bit like a frizzy kind of thing. It's like a different material from the rest of it. I love it. It looks really good.
Yeah, and it's all child-proof, so your child won't die if you buy one of these. We have extra testing for that. So it's all licensed above board.
That's awesome. Oh, look at these pins. I see myself here.
Yeah,
look at that.
Speaking of
it's me, Park, and Brightpaw. Wowhead Weekly.
Yep.
This was before Luna was born, guys.
Yep, we'll make one for Luna. Maybe like
one day.
Yeah. We have a pin of the cats.
Oh, so you can get the bundle with all of the pins, or you can go and get them all on their own.
Yeah, so each pin is $10, and if you buy all the pins, it's $80. So you get like a 20% discount if you get them by themselves.
That's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, we need to send you some of these pins as well. But yeah, so they're very cool. Seppish is the artist who designed all of the pins, and Kitsuki did a lot to see these through to completion, as well as Sass. So you know, we are really excited to have these pins. We always
Pepe and Wowhead Rocket.
Pepe. Yeah, we always do a lot of these pins for the Wowhead party, and they're so popular. So we figured, spread the love, make people that can't attend the party have a way to get some Wowhead pins as well.
How can I get all this? This is from the Wowhead shop, so wowheadshop.com. Yeah. And I think they're available right now already, right?
Yeah, if you forget the URL, if you go to Wowhead's front page, you'll see shop in green text, and then a menu where you can click for like t-shirts or pins or plushie, and that takes you to the shop pages. But yeah, Sass picked a winner. It is Emisune _. So congrats to Emisune.
Congratulations.
Hey. So yeah, I think we're actually good for now. We have some discount codes that you can find on the front page for Blizzard and Jinx, and I think Jujubee coming very soon, so that's exciting. And yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. And like we mentioned, Allcraft starts in roughly 30 minutes, and they'll be covering the Mythic raid announcement that Method made earlier, and Wowhead is sponsoring Allcraft and powering that Q&A. So, we encourage you to leave questions about the whole announcement, and they will likely be answered on the stream as, Method is the guest on the show.
I noticed somebody asking about pins of Panzer. I don't know if those are still available. I think those were a special during that old BlizzCon. Is that true?
Yeah, so we actually, they were on sale mostly throughout BlizzCon, and Blizzard for a while set up a discount code where if you spent, I think, $50, you could get a special pin with purchase. I think maybe that's still going on if you go to Wowhead's Discord. but that was a limited edition. I think she may still have some to give away herself. But we cannot sell those on our shop as it was a Blizzard product. And for that year, the agreement was that Wowhead would not kind of do their own rival pits. So, see if that discount code still works. Sass just said it did work. So if you spend $50 or more and use the code WowheadPins 2018, you can then select the Pouncer pin.
Okay, so if you spend $50 or more and you use that code. And is that the Blizzard gear store or the Wowhead gear store?
The Blizzard gear store.
Okay.
Like we can't do those. Yeah. All those pins are managed by Blizzard's warehouse.
All right, gotcha.
So,
I also saw somebody asking about streaming from the BlizzCon Wowhead party. Was that streamed before?
Yeah, it's streamed every year, and we should be doing that again this year. So it's basically we'll just have different people on the stage, maybe a camera going around so you can see what's going on at home. We may change up the schedule this year, so there's a different structure to it because we have a different ballroom this year. It's all indoors, so we don't have to. Usually we have it outdoors and there are noise complaints after certain hours, so we have to move the party. But since we're inside, we can go longer with the streaming show, so we can be more creative and fit more things in this year.
Yeah. Wait, someone mentioned Alien Perk meeting. I feel like I've already met you. Have I not met you yet? I guess I haven't.
Wait, no, I mean, I think maybe in passing, but I don't think we.
No,
I remember actually at BlizzCon, you thanked me for highlighting your interview, and you said something on Twitter that you felt bad that we didn't get to talk because we were so busy. So yeah, I guess we haven't met. It feels so weird because I always talk to you.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like we met before, but no, because I think I met Kitsuki, but not you. I think.
Right.
And then we spoke not face to face, but we spoke like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's true. I'll meet her for the first time too. Get a picture together. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching and supporting and hanging out, all the follows, subs, and everything. People watching on the Wowhead front page. Hello to you guys as well. Hope you guys found the information today useful or fun or anything. And we will be back next week around the same time as always with whatever is new until then. For today, probably this year's shortest show, we will say goodbye. Oh yeah, high five. Yeah. We need to do a high five.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
Boom. Perfect. Perfect.
And you didn't scare Luna.
No, the thing is she's not even in this room right now, but I'm scarred now. I don't dare hit my table.
On my foot.
Oh, is he? Aw.
Yeah.
So what happened last week was we did the high five, and exactly when it hit, I hit my table to do a sound effect. Yeah. And that was not a good idea because Luna just boom, woke up and ran away. So yeah, we don't want to do that again. But yeah, take care everyone. Thank you guys so much for supporting, and we will see you guys again next week, same time.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye everyone.
Bye.